The butter in your fridge right now is probably fake. That's right. Some of the most popular butter brands in the UK are selling you inferior products at premium prices, and they're banking on you not knowing the difference. I've spent weeks investigating UK butter brands, speaking to dairy farmers, food scientists, and former factory workers. What I've discovered will change how you buy butter forever. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to expose 7 butter brands you should never buy. The ones using the cheapest milk, the most questionable additives, and the most deceptive marketing. By the end, you'll know exactly which butters to avoid and what you should be buying instead. Number 7. Lurpak Spreadable. Let's start with one of the most popular butter brands in the UK. Lurpak, that distinctive silver packaging, the premium image, the high price. You'd think you're getting quality, but when you look at Lurpak Spreadable specifically, you're being sold something that barely qualifies as butter. Check the ingredients. Lurpak Spreadable contains only 64% butter. The rest is rapeseed oil, water, and lactic acid culture. This isn't butter, it's a butter blend. But Lurpak markets it as if it's their premium butter product, just more convenient. Here's the problem. That rapeseed oil is highly processed. It's been extracted using heat and chemical solvents, then refined, bleached, and deodorized. The omega-6 fatty acids in rapeseed oil promote inflammation when consumed in excess. You're paying butter prices for inflammatory vegetable oil. A food scientist told me, butter blends like Lurpak. Spreadable exists purely to increase profit margins. Rapeseed oil is much cheaper than butter. By mixing the two, manufacturers can sell less butter for butter prices. Customers think they're getting convenience. Really, they're getting less of what they paid for. The Spreadable claim is also misleading. Real butter spreads perfectly fine when left at room temperature for 15 minutes. You don't need added vegetable oil. The spreadability is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Lurpak Spreadable costs around £3 for a 250-gram tub. That's £12 per kilogram for a product that's only 64% butter. You're paying premium butter prices for a margarine hybrid. The lactic acid culture is added to mimic the tangy flavor of cultured butter. But real cultured butter gets that flavor from traditional fermentation. Lurpak Spreadable uses a shortcut, adding culture after the fact rather than fermenting the cream properly. Another issue is the salt content. Lurpak Spreadable contains significantly more salt than regular butter. This masks the flavor of the lower quality fats and makes the product more addictive. High salt intake is linked to high blood pressure, stroke, and heart disease. What really bothers me is how Lurpak markets this product. They use the same premium branding as their actual butter. The packaging looks almost identical. Many customers don't realize they're buying a blend until they read the fine print. This is deliberate deception designed to make you think you're getting something you're not. The texture tells you everything. Lurpak Spreadable has an unnaturally smooth, almost plastic-like consistency. Real butter has character, slight graininess, and natural variation. This product is engineered to be uniform, which means it's been processed to death. When you cook with Lurpak Spreadable, the difference becomes even more obvious. It doesn't brown properly like real butter. It separates and pools oil. It doesn't add the rich, nutty flavor that real butter provides. You're using an inferior product and getting inferior results. I conducted a test. I made 2 batches of shortbread, one with real butter and one with Lurpak Spreadable. The real butter version was golden, crisp, and had that distinctive buttery flavor. The Lurpak Spreadable version was pale, slightly greasy, and tasted like nothing. The difference was stark. Number 6. Anchor Spreadable. Anchor is another trusted brand trading on reputation while selling inferior products. Their Spreadable range has the same problem as Lurpak, but it's actually worse. Anchor Spreadable contains only 55% butter. The rest is water, rapeseed oil, buttermilk, and various additives. You're getting less than half actual butter, yet the product is marketed and priced as butter. Look at the ingredients list more carefully. You'll find something called buttermilk powder. This is a cheap bulking agent made from dried whey. It's added to give the product a creamy texture without using actual cream. You're paying for powdered filler. The rapeseed oil in Anchor Spreadable is the same highly processed inflammatory oil found in Lurpak. But Anchor uses more of it, which means even less real butter and more cheap vegetable oil. A former dairy industry worker told me, The spreadable butter category was created to solve a manufacturer's problem, not a consumer's problem. Butter was expensive to produce and had lower margins. By creating blends, companies could charge the same prices while using much less actual dairy. Anchor also adds preservatives to extend shelf life. Potassium sorbate is listed in the ingredients. This preservative has been linked to allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. Real butter doesn't need preservatives. It naturally has a long shelf life when refrigerated. The texture of Anchor Spreadable is also wrong. It's unnaturally smooth and consistent. Real butter has a slightly grainy texture from butterfat crystals. When you eat Anchor Spreadable, you're tasting emulsified oil, not butter. Here's what really makes this product problematic. Anchor positions itself as a premium New Zealand brand. They charge premium prices based on this image. But their Spreadable range is made in the UK using European milk, not New Zealand milk. You're paying for New Zealand credentials and getting a local product. The marketing around Anchor Spreadable is particularly egregious. They show images of lush New Zealand pastures and happy cows, but the milk in your spreadable tub has nothing to do with those images. It's pure marketing fantasy designed to justify premium pricing for an inferior product. I tested Anchor Spreadable against real butter in baking. The results were dramatic. Cookies made with real butter were crisp, golden, and flavorful. Cookies made with Anchor Spreadable were pale, greasy, and tasted artificial. The difference in quality is undeniable. When you melt Anchor Spreadable in a pan, watch what happens. It separates immediately into oil and water. Real butter melts into a unified golden liquid. This separation shows you exactly what you're eating. A poorly emulsified mixture of cheap ingredients pretending to be butter. Number 5. Tesco Everyday Value Butter. Now we move into supermarket own brands, and this is where things get really questionable. Tesco Everyday Value Butter is the cheapest butter you can buy in the UK. There's a reason for that. The milk used in this butter comes from intensive dairy farms, where animal welfare is minimal. These are farms where cows are kept indoors year-round, fed grain-based diets instead of grass, and treated with antibiotics routinely to prevent illness from overcrowding. A dairy farmer told me, "The milk that goes into budget butter is from the lowest-paying contracts. These contracts force farmers to cut every possible corner to make the numbers work. Animal welfare, environmental practices, quality standards, all of it gets sacrificed. The butter itself is made using continuous churning, which is the fastest, cheapest method of production. This process doesn't allow the butter to develop proper flavor or texture. It's simply fat separated from milk as quickly as possible. Tesco Everyday Value Butter has a flat, bland taste. It lacks the complexity and richness of properly made butter. That's because the cream hasn't been cultured. The churning is rushed, and the milk comes from cows on poor diets. The color is also suspiciously pale. Good butter should have a rich golden color from the beta-carotene in grass. Pale butter indicates grain-fed cows. Grain feeding is cheaper, but produces nutritionally inferior milk with lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids and vitamins. But here's the most concerning part. Budget butter is often made from milk that's already been used for other purposes. After cheese production, the leftover whey and cream get pooled and sold to budget butter manufacturers. You're literally getting the dairy industry's waste product. An industry worker explained, the milk supply chain has a hierarchy. The best milk goes to premium products. The middle grade milk goes to standard products. The bottom tier milk, the stuff that's been sitting around or left over from other processes, that goes into budget, butter. Tesco Everyday Value. Butter also contains added salt at levels higher than necessary for preservation. This is to mask off flavors from lower quality cream and to make the product more palatable. You're eating extra sodium to cover up inferior ingredients. The packaging is also telling. Budget butter comes in the cheapest possible wrapper that barely protects the product. Good butter comes in proper, protective packaging. Plus, when you melt Tesco Everyday Value Butter, you'll notice something disturbing. It separates into layers with a watery, milky liquid at the bottom and greasy fat on top. This shouldn't happen with proper butter. It indicates poor quality control and inadequate churning. I left a portion of Tesco Value Butter at room temperature alongside proper butter. The Tesco butter became almost liquid and separated within an hour. The proper butter softened but maintained its structure. This shows the inferior quality of the butter fat in budget products. If what you've heard so far has shocked you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're about to reveal the absolute worst butter brand, and the final revelation will make you check your fridge immediately. Subscribe so you never miss investigations like this. Number 4. Asda Extra Special Slightly Salted Butter. You'd think that a product labelled Extra Special would be higher quality. With Asda, you'd be wrong. Their Extra Special butter range is barely better than their standard butter, but it costs significantly more. I compared Asda Extra Special butter to their standard butter. The ingredients are nearly identical. Both use the same pasteurized cream and salt. The only difference is the salt content and the packaging. You're paying 40% more for essentially the same product. A former Asda employee told me the Extra Special range was created to capture customers willing to pay more. But in many categories, including butter, there was minimal actual difference in quality. It was premium pricing for standard products. The milk sourcing for Asda butter is also problematic. Asda uses milk from multiple suppliers across the UK and Europe. This lack of traceability means you have no idea about the welfare standards or environmental practices of the farms involved. When butter comes from pooled milk from dozens of farms, quality control becomes nearly impossible. The taste of Asda Extra Special butter reflects this inconsistency. Some batches are acceptable, others taste off, with a slightly rancid or chemical note. This variation indicates quality control issues in the supply chain. Another problem is the pasteurization method. Asda uses high-temperature pasteurization to extend shelf life. This kills bacteria effectively, but also damages the delicate milk proteins and fats, affecting flavor and nutritional value. The packaging claims on Asda Extra Special butter are also misleading. Made with British cream sounds reassuring until you realize that British just means processed in the UK, not that the cows were raised in the UK or that the milk meets any particular welfare standards. I conducted a blind taste test with Asda Extra Special butter against genuinely premium butter. The difference was stark. The Asda butter tasted flat and slightly sour. The premium butter was rich, complex, and satisfying. You absolutely get what you pay for, and with Asda, you're not paying for quality. The mouthfeel is also wrong. Asda butter leaves an oily residue that coats your mouth. Good butter has a clean finish. This oily residue comes from the processing methods and lower quality cream used in production. When I used Asda Extra Special butter for making hollandaise sauce, it curdled and separated. The sauce never came together properly. This is because the butter lacks the proper fat structure that comes from quality cream and traditional processing. Your cooking suffers when you use inferior ingredients. Number 3. Sainsbury's by Sainsbury's butter. Sainsbury's own brand butter has similar issues to Asda, but with an added problem: inconsistent salt levels. I've bought Sainsbury's butter multiple times, and the salt content varies dramatically between batches. Some tubs are extremely salty, others barely taste salted at all. This inconsistency suggests poor quality control in manufacturing. A food safety inspector told me, inconsistent salt levels indicate problems with mixing and quality control. Salt isn't just for flavor in butter, it's also a preservative. If salt levels vary, it means some batches may have inadequate preservation, leading to faster spoilage. The cream used in Sainsbury's butter also comes from non-traceable pooled sources. Like Asda, Sainsbury's buys milk from multiple suppliers without transparency about farming practices. But here's something particularly concerning about Sainsbury's butter. Several batches I purchased had a distinctly chemical taste, not rancid, but artificial, like the butter had absorbed flavors from packaging or processing equipment. An industry worker explained what this might indicate. Chemical flavors in butter can come from several sources: contaminated processing equipment, packaging materials that leach chemicals, or additives used during production. It's a sign that something in the manufacturing process isn't right. Sainsbury's butter also tends to have a softer, more oily texture than it should. This suggests the butter making process isn't properly removing all the buttermilk. Excess moisture and buttermilk residue give butter an inferior texture and shorter shelf life. The color is also inconsistent. Some batches are pale yellow, others are almost white. This indicates milk from different seasons or different feeding regimes being mixed together. Consistency should be standard for a product sold year-round. When I left Sainsbury's butter at room temperature, it became almost liquid within an hour. Good butter softens but maintains structure. This excessive softening indicates poor quality butterfat with low melting points, which comes from grain-fed rather than grass-fed cows. The shelf life is another red flag. Sainsbury's butter often starts tasting rancid well before its use-by date. This shouldn't happen with properly made butter stored correctly. It suggests problems with the quality of the cream or the processing methods used. I tried using Sainsbury's butter for making croissants. The dough wouldn't laminate properly because the butter was too soft and oily. It smeared into the dough instead of creating distinct layers. The final croissants were dense and greasy rather than light and flaky. Quality matters in baking, and Sainsbury's butter doesn't deliver. Number 2. Aldi Cowbell British Butter. Aldi's butter is cheap, and like most Aldi products, there's a reason for the low price. Cowbell butter is made with the absolute minimum standards required to legally call something butter. The milk comes from intensive dairy farms contracted to supply Aldi at rock-bottom prices. These contracts are so low that farmers can barely make a profit, which means corners get cut everywhere possible. A dairy farmer told me, "The prices Aldi pays for milk are unsustainable. Farmers supplying Aldi have to run huge herds with minimal labour, maximum efficiency, and no extras. Animal welfare becomes a luxury they can't afford." Aldi also sources milk from multiple European countries, not just the UK. The British butter label means it was manufactured in Britain, not that the milk came from British cows. This is deliberate mislabeling, designed to make you think you're supporting British farmers. The taste of Aldi Cowbell butter reflects its bargain basement sourcing. It's bland, slightly sour, and lacks the rich, creamy flavour of good butter. The texture is also wrong, grainy and slightly crumbly, rather than smooth and spreadable. The shelf life is also suspiciously long. Aldi butter can last months in the fridge. This suggests preservatives or processing methods that extend shelf life at the expense of quality and taste. An industry worker told me about Aldi's butter sourcing. Aldi demands the lowest possible prices from suppliers. This means suppliers have to use the cheapest milk available. Often this is milk that other buyers have rejected for quality reasons. The colour of Aldi butter is telling. It's almost white, indicating milk from heavily grain-fed cows kept indoors. There's virtually no beta-carotene, which means the cows aren't seeing grass. You're eating butter from cows that have never experienced natural pasture. When you use Aldi butter in cooking, the inferiority becomes obvious. It doesn't brown properly. It burns easily. It adds little flavour to your food. You're better off using oil than wasting calories on butter this poor. I made mashed potatoes with Aldi butter, alongside mashed potatoes with quality butter. The Aldi version was bland and slightly greasy. The quality butter version was rich, creamy, and deeply satisfying. The difference in final dish quality was enormous, all from the butter choice. The price might seem appealing, but you're getting what you pay for. At 75 pence per pack, you're buying the cheapest milk processed in the cheapest way with the lowest standards. This isn't a bargain. It's a compromise on quality, ethics, and taste that isn't worth the minimal savings. Number 1. I can't believe it's not butter. And here we are. The worst offender. Except here's the thing. This isn't butter at all. And that's exactly the problem. I can't believe it's not butter is margarine. It contains no butter whatsoever. It's made from vegetable oils, water, and a long list of additives. But it's marketed in ways that deliberately confuse customers into thinking it's a butter product. The name itself is deceptive. I can't believe it's not butter implies it's so similar to butter that you can't tell the difference. This is false. It tastes nothing like butter. The texture is nothing like butter. The nutritional profile is nothing like butter. Look at the ingredients. Vegetable oils, including rapeseed, palm, and sunflower, water, salt, emulsifiers, preservatives, colorings, and flavorings. This is a highly processed industrial product designed to look and somewhat taste like butter, while being much cheaper to produce. The vegetable oils are the main concern. These oils have been extracted using high heat and chemical solvents. They're then refined, bleached, and deodorized to remove impurities and flavors. What remains is a nutritionally dead fat that promotes inflammation. Palm oil is particularly problematic. Its production is destroying rainforests and driving orangutans to extinction. The palm oil used in products like this is heavily processed and stripped of any nutritional value it might have had. The emulsifiers used to blend the oils and water include mono and diglycerides. These are created by breaking down fats, often from animal sources. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you might be unknowingly consuming animal-derived ingredients. The preservatives include potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate. These chemicals extend shelf life, but have been linked to allergic reactions and potential health concerns when consumed regularly. The colorings are added to make the product yellow like butter. Beta-carotene is listed, which sounds natural, but it's often synthetic beta-carotene created in laboratories, not extracted from carrots. The flavorings are perhaps the most dishonest part. Natural flavoring is listed, which means chemical compounds designed to mimic butter flavor. Your taste buds are being tricked into thinking you're eating something you're not. A food scientist explained, products like "I can't believe it's not butter" exist because margarine has a terrible reputation. By creating a product that mimics butter but is technically margarine, manufacturers can capture customers who want butter but balk at the price. The health claims are also misleading. The product is marketed as lower in saturated fat than butter, which is true, but saturated fat from butter isn't the health demon it's been portrayed as. Meanwhile, the highly processed vegetable oils in this product cause inflammation and have been linked to heart disease. The price is another issue. "I can't believe it's not butter" costs around the same as cheap actual butter. You're paying butter prices for flavored vegetable oil. There's no economic justification for buying this over real butter. The texture is unnaturally smooth and consistent. Real butter has natural variation. This product feels and spreads like petroleum jelly. That's because it's essentially flavored, emulsified oil in solid form. The aftertaste is also wrong. Real butter leaves a clean, slightly sweet aftertaste. This product leaves a chemical, oily residue in your mouth. Your body knows you're not eating real food. Here's what really makes this product the worst. It's been marketed for decades as a healthier alternative to butter. Entire generations have been convinced that this industrially processed product is better for them than traditional butter. This is one of the greatest marketing cons in food history. So what can you do? Avoid spreadable butter blends. They're not real butter. Skip supermarket budget butter. The quality and ethics are terrible. Never buy margarine marketed as a butter alternative. Instead, buy butter that lists only cream and possibly salt in the ingredients. Look for grass-fed or organic labels. Choose single-source dairies when possible. Real butter costs more, but you need less of it, and the quality difference is worth every penny. Have you been buying any of these butter brands? Are you shocked by what's really in them? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and if this opened your eyes, share it with friends and family. They need to know what they're really eating.